Hi everybody, welcome to GameGorgon. My name is Krug.
I'm Indigo.
Today we're here to talk to you about the new Sorcerer bloodline that you can only use with your phone. That's right, Paizo has introduced a brand new bloodline for the Sorcerer that you can only use on your phone, your cell phone. Yeah, because it's Diabolic, and so just because the new Diablo is
Diabolic.
It's coming.
Diabolic.
Oh.
Hey everyone, welcome to GameGorgon. My name's Indigo.
And I can't read.
And today we're going to be talking about the bloodline changes for the Sorcerer for patch 1.6.
Yeah.
And the last supposed patch until release.
Yeah.
I know I've said that 1,000 times. I don't know. I have a very strange feeling that there's going to be a significant amount of change between 1.6 and release.
Yep, if it comes out in patches, it comes out in patches. If it doesn't come out in patches,
I'm scared.
Version 1 is going to be astonishingly different than what we're using, as far as we can tell.
I'm just saying, isn't that what Fallout 76 did?
No. No, it was broken the whole time.
The first change is kind of the change that went across all spellcasters, which you're going to be gaining a 5th cantrip, starting off from the very beginning. If you want more information on that, go and see the 1.6 video that we did that was just a general overview of all of the changes that Paizo did. We didn't make any changes.
Just click my face to go to the video.
Nope.
Have fun figuring that out.
Have
fun figuring that out.
You just paused it. You just paused the video. That's all they did.
There's also a new feat that's been added outside of the new bloodline, which is Bloodline Heightening. This is going to be something that you can take with any bloodline as a sorcerer. It's a level 10 feat, and effectively what it allows you to do is use Spontaneous Heightening on all of your bloodline spells. From 1st to 9th level spells, whatever it is that you want to heighten, you can heighten it using Spontaneous Heightening. This is in addition to what Spontaneous Heightening normally allows you to heighten, which is 2 spells of your choice that you choose at the beginning of every day. This specific feat was added for people that are playing the Sorcerer and want to focus on their bloodline spells specifically.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. I think that's an interesting approach to playing a Sorcerer.
Well, I mean, not only do I think it's an interesting approach, I think it's almost necessary for the fact that, like, as a sorcerer, you're not getting as many spontaneous, like, heightening spells as you can. Like, the fact that you have to learn them at their level.
Yep.
I think that this kind of makes you have to take this feat so that you've got more like, flexibility within
I'd say it depends on your role. I think there are certain roles that don't need it necessarily, but like for things like a damage dealer, somebody that's just there to do damage to the enemy, in order to overcome resistances, having the ability to heighten more spells is really useful, because if you have low level acid damage, high level fire damage, and you can't do fire damage, or your fire damage isn't as effective, heightening acid would be helpful. So, like,
I mean, healing as well.
I definitely think it's strong.
So, like, arcane and divine spellcasting, I think, are very important to have heightening. I would say that there's an argument for all of them, though.
There's definitely, but I just don't think it's mandatory for everyone.
No, I think it's, if you want to be a mid-max character and you want to be the most powerful that you can as a sorcerer, it's going to be a requirement. Well, because not having the flexibility, in which situations would not having that flexibility benefit you?
Situations where you can just outthink the situation. Like, unless your DM is being, like, unnecessarily random and, like, out of context, giving you, like, oh, this thing has resistance to every element except for this one thing. Like, yeah, in that situation you're screwed, but that's not really common.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say that. Like, being able to cast, like, spells that would allow you to change the environment and make the, you know, change what people see, charm spells, stuff like that. Being able to heighten it based off of the enemy that you're going against, not knowing the enemy, you know what I mean? Because that's the thing, is like, unless you know exactly what 100% of what you're going to get into, not having flexibility is more of a hindrance than it is a help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that's why I'm saying that I think that this becomes a necessary feat, because it adds, it's literally just like, hey, here's a ton of flexibility that you did not have as a class before.
Sure.
And I think that the way that spellcasting works with sorcerers, the fact that I have to, at X level, when I level and I gain a spell slot, I have to choose that I know Magic Missile at the 1st level and at 5th level. You know what I mean? And the fact that I only have a small amount of spells that I can spontaneously heighten.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. Let us know where you're coming from down in the comments. Do you think that this feat is mandatory because of the flexibility it gives you? Or do you think it's strong but not really that mandatory just because you should be able to plan around the campaign with your brain? Or do you think it's garbage and that we're both wrong and that nobody should pick it ever? Write it down there. Go. Now, pause the video and then start the video again when you're done writing. Don't just leave. Don't leave.
Or just scroll.
Or scroll.
It doesn't stop the video.
That's true. Do one of those things.
So the big bloodline that we're going to be seeing is the Diabolic Bloodline, which is that someone down the line had made a deal with demons.
Yeah.
It's very similar to Tieflings, except for there was less sex.
In my opinion, by far the most interesting part of this bloodline is like a little bit of flavor text that they included. It almost seems like they included it offhandedly, but it just makes it for me. I'm gonna read it to you. You can't help but notice ways to exploit agreements or your bonds with others to your own advantage. Though you need not follow through, the temptation is ever present. That's just gorgeous. Like that, the amount of role-playing, like internal monologuing that you could do to like out loud though.
Yeah.
To like lend an air of like flawed nature to your character is so good there. I love it so much.
No, I think it's really good.
Yeah.
The Diabolic Bloodline gives you divine spell lists, also trains you in deception and religion.
Your bloodline spells are going to be what you would expect from a demon, a lot of charm stuff and a lot of fire damage stuff.
The first bloodline power that you're going to have access to is Diabolic Edict.
Level 1.
So you're able to target one willing creature and give them a demand to do an action. And if they accept this action, they get a +1 on attack rolls to try and to perform this action.
Yeah,
right?
attack rolls and skill checks.
Yes. Now, here's the weird thing about this, though, is that person can then refuse to do the action that you asked them to do.
Right.
And they receive a -1 penalty instead.
Yes.
But here's the weird thing. It has to be a willing creature.
Yeah, so the only way that this makes a little bit of sense, and it's a very small amount of sense, is if you as the caster go up to a person and say, I have a demand for you, do you accept? And then they say, what's the demand? And then you say, I'm going to tell you after we agree, and then you can refuse after the fact, which makes no sense.
No.
Unless you're talking to a character with an intelligence of literally 3. Well, it doesn't make any sense.
Not only that, it's only a single verbal action to cast this ability, which means there isn't a back and forth conversation.
Well, there's a back and forth, and then at the end you say like potatoes, and then it casts. Like the verbal component isn't a part of the negotiation.
But I don't know.
I get where you're coming from.
I think how this spell works, it's literally. I think that instead of one willing creature, it should be an ally.
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of what they mean by that, because I don't think they want to like want you to use it on an enemy and be like, attack yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they can just say no.
And then receive a -1 penalty.
But then at that point, it's just a spell you can use to give an enemy a -1 penalty.
Exactly, and that's why I think it was supposed to be ally only, and because you can be like, you can tell
why would they refuse?
Listen!
Doesn't make any sense.
I mean, if you told your ally, like you have a bard ally, because it doesn't necessarily have to be in combat, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be like, oh, go tell that bartender to get us drinks for free. And they're like, no.
You know what would be, I think, a better version of this that I just thought of? Maybe better is the wrong word, but a more, something that makes more sense is all actions that relate to the task at hand directly, like lift that rock. You get +1 to strength checks and to like, I don't know, whatever else you need to do to lift a rock, but you get a -1 to every other check in every other situation. So if you're moving towards the rock, I mean, that doesn't require a roll, but if you're defending the rock from somebody, that is a penalty. You have a penalty in defending it because that doesn't help the rock move. It helps you start to move the rock, but you're not actively moving the rock. Does that make sense?
Basically what we're both saying is that it needs some work.
It needs a little bit of love, yeah. We're a little bit confused by it.
Yeah.
If you're not confused by it and we're being dumb, tell us how we're dumb in the comments, I guess. That's not even like YouTube engagement. I just, like if you know, like I really want.
If it makes sense to you.
Like email me, I don't care how you, I just want to know. Like, Next at level 3 is Embrace the Pit. This is going to have somatic and verbal components. It's going to be a 1-minute duration self-buff sort of spell. When you cast it, you're going to get resistance 5 to evil, fire, and poison damage. You're also going to get resistance 1 to physical damage unless it's from a silver weapon.
Okay.
And then you're also going to get weakness 5 to good damage.
Okay.
If your character has a good alignment, which it absolutely can with this bloodline, there's no restriction saying that you can't, you can still take the good damage when you've cast this spell on yourself. You're basically kind of like embracing the evil, and so that's opening up like a vulnerability to you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This can also be heightened every 2 spell levels to increase your resistances by 5, except for physical, which increases by 1, but it also increases your weaknesses by 5. So it's just scaling everything up.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, if you know the thing that you're fighting isn't going to be doing good damage, then by all means.
Yeah.
It's a really situational downside that you can avoid really easily, I think.
Remember, any of the bloodlines past your first level bloodline is going to have to be gotten via a feat.
Right.
Because it's no longer a just given aspect. It is something that is now required via feats.
Yeah, your bloodline's basically the prerequisite now.
Yes. At 5th level, you're going to have access to Hellfire Plume, which is a 10-foot wide by 60-foot tall cylinder of, well, Hellfire Plume.
Yep.
It's a bunch of damage.
It's AoE damage.
It does 5d4 fire damage and 5d4 on evil damage. Now that is if they fail their reflex saves. Now if they critically fail, it doubles. If they succeed, it's half. And if they critically succeed, then it's unaffected. So kind of just fireball, but in a cylinder.
Yep. Basically, that's actually it. I actually think this spell's really useful just because it's a 60-foot tall cylinder that you can cast at a 60-foot range and does a 10-foot radius. So I think this might, in some situations, be really beneficial against like flying units, or maybe, I don't know, if your DM's really cool, like if you can't reach the height of something, but you can reach the distance without like adding the angle of the height, you can cast it like underneath someone and then have it like travel up and hit them.
Oh, sure.
I think that's a nifty, like, just kind of geometry of this ability.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. I mean, I would have to read the spell, like maybe like the flavor text of the spell to understand more. But like at least it feels like it's almost like it's coming from the ground.
Yeah,
right?
but it doesn't say that.
It doesn't. That's why I'm saying I would want to read the flavor text because it's like theoretically you could
cast it 60 feet straight up and hit 120 feet right above you in the air.
Yeah.
Which would be nifty. If I were a GM and somebody wanted to do this with that spell, I wouldn't be like, that's against the rules. I'd be like, that's a really creative use of your spell. Go ahead.
I mean, but if it says the ground crackles and just plume of fire beckons from the ground, would you really be like, yeah, you cast that up 60 feet in the air? Or would you be like, nah, it's meant to be on the ground?
No, I don't know. I'd have to read it again. We'll see.
Yeah, like that would be my only like, that's why I want to read the flavor text to see how it works, because I think that would add or subtract from what the player can do, because let's be honest, players, y'all are d***s.
Yep.
And you're going to try to get away with everything you possibly
Players are the source of the give a mouse a cookie saying.
Sure.
They'll want a glass of milk.
Yeah, exactly.
No offense. We're also players, and we do it to each other all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we know this.
If you're looking for some merch from the fiery pits of hell, this isn't it. This comes from a warehouse somewhere. These are shirts from Void Merch. They sent them to us for free. We really like them. We think you'll like them too. Head down to the link in the description and then click on it to browse their wares and buy some if you like them. Look at them. They're so pretty.
All right, everyone, head down in the comments and let us know what you think of the Sorcerer Changes. While you're down there, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you haven't done that yet, and then head over to Twitter and talk to us. You can talk to me on Twitter at IndigoQT.
You can talk to me on Twitter at CrewQT. You can also talk to both of us at all these social media things down below. There's that one, and that one, and this one, and this one, and there's so many, and they're all cool, and we're there, and we're smart, and fun, and great.
We've been GameGorgon. We'll see you later.
And entertaining, and not long-winded.